Yo, people. Can you hear me okay? What's going on? What's happening? I think I actually got the amp switcher going today with proper audio. Anyway, you guys can hear me, right? I'm not warmed up, so I'll just play simple rock chords. I want to show you the amp switcher. So you can't see, but the SL68's up top there, and that's what you're hearing right now. It's running into the reactive load. So I just thought, and none of these are dialed to sound exactly the same or whatever, but I can show you 4 Marshall tones really easily. There's the SL68. Here's my 7150 watt. Lower headroom, of course. Less volume. A little squishy. It's kind of my least favorite right now, to tell you the truth. But still cool. Here's the PT100. Sounds pretty great, I think. And my old top hat in Plexidor, which is basically a Marshall 50. Compare it directly to the Marshall 50. Marshall doesn't sound so good to me right now. Maybe if I pull out the jumper. Go back to the SL68. Which is pretty undeniably great. So there you go. But anyway, it becomes very, 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 very simple to quickly change things up and listen to all those different tones. What's up, everybody? Let's see here. Braxall, what's up? Can you tell me if you are going to use that acoustic preamp in your rig? And is there any other acoustic preamps you know that are good, because the orange one is so expensive? It is expensive, but it's a tube preamp and it's got 2 channels and it's all discrete and class A and all that business. I don't know. It sounds great. It's not cheap. I think it's $8.99, but man, does it ever sound good, right? I mean, it's a thing. I don't know. It's no substitute for. I'm just going to turn off. And once again, I hate the lights the way I got it set right now. So just one sec here. Let's try this. See what just that looks like. So damn bright. What can you do? Anyway, is what it is. I look like hell. Good morning. Nothing says good morning like harsh white lighting on either side of your face. Anyway, the orange preamp. I love that thing. And I don't have. So recently when I was in Japan, I ran into a situation where I had to play a solo on acoustic and kind of back to back with the other guitar player, and he's got a great, I think it's a Bags maybe. So there you go. There's your answer. Maybe look at the LR Bags stuff, but he had a nice Bags preamp. And he's able to get more EQ control. And I was just having problems getting the mids to poke through, and being, the guitar sounds fine for playing acoustic finger picking or strumming stuff or whatever. But when I had to play a solo, I wished I'd had more control. So on the orange, I found on that video I did, I was able to dial in easily using the mid-range control, just find a nice frequency and then just make it poke a little bit for lead stuff. So, anyway, it's a nice thing to have, and that thing just sounds really good to me. So I think I am going to start using it in my rig. And I love the mic pre on it, by the way. I mean, it sounds great with the microphone. I've got this little Audio Technica mic here. Audio Technica has some love. I don't think I can get it because it's on a stand. And I don't know if you guys find this, but like when you're sitting, like, and you got guitar and you just want one thing and you're trying to grab it and the guitar is ready to fall off of you, and story of my life. Anyway, Audio Technica, it's an ATM 4050, I think it's called, and it's a small diaphragm mic. You can see it in that video that I did of the Orange Pre, and I thought it sounded really, really good on the guitar in that video. Dan's up in the top chat. Hi, Dan. Thanks. And he says, Pete, the Frustration demo was fantastic. Comparison to the Rufus Reloaded, they seem a bit similar. I would say that that's kind of true. It's a modern fuzz that the Rufus Reloaded will do the Octavia thing as well. So yeah, some crossover there for sure. I don't know. Haven't done them back to back, so I don't know about if there's one I would prefer or for a certain thing. But I like both the Rufus and the Rufus Reloaded. If you guys have ever heard that "A Place to Call Home" song by Big Wreck, Ian used the original Rufus, I think, on that through the Hedgehog amp, and it's an amazing big fat surly fuzz tone. So I love it for that thing, the original one. Nigel says, any recommendations for a high-end small-bodied acoustic with a slim neck? I mean, I'd probably look at a Martin of some sort if you want something high-end that's just classic and probably going to retain its value. And I don't know much about the small body, like whatever you guys probably talking about, double O, triple O, the smaller body guitars. But I love Collings guitars. It's hard to go wrong with those. The ones I've played have all been beautiful. They seem to make really nice guitars. Taylor probably has something too. All that tone is beautiful, says Daniel. I'm glad it sounds good out there. I have, of course, no idea what it sounds like when it goes out across the YouTubes, but it sounds good in the headphones. And once again, the Samson G-Track Pro mic comes to the rescue. You can see I've got a 1/4-inch cable plugged into the back. So that is the output of the Sur reactive load, just feeding right into it. And that makes it really, really easy to do this stuff. The mic to get, I did this thing for doing what I'm doing right now is I've got this Audio Technica, which is great too. So these are the two mics I've been using for doing these streams and stuff lately. But the Samson does have the added advantage of that 1/4-inch input in the back, which is nice for if you want to plug a guitar right in, or the output of a load box or a Helix or something like that. You can have your voice and one mono guitar thing going, and it just makes this very, very simple. Well, let's just dive right into more stuff here. We got 290 people online. Good morning to you, everybody. And what do we got here? Let's see. Banana Hammock says, calling a vintage Marshall sound your least fave is a good problem to have. I agree. It is, right? It's a good problem to have. I've got some options, and that's nice. I've got to get the old Marshall looked at, though, because I just feel like I'm going to put everything on standby here. I just feel like it's... I don't know. It's not all I had wanted, and it could be down to tubes. Maybe it's just a tube thing, or maybe I'm just comparing it directly at a low volume to a 100-watt amp, and I'm hearing the fullness of the 100-watt, low line level volume, and so the ballsiness of the 100-watt just sounds great to me. But yeah, the SL68 seems to, for me, it just always comes out on top for at least what I've got. Although the PT100 does a great thing too, obviously. That's really similar. Substitute, love that song. So Surf By, yeah, me too. Okay. Leon says, have always been a Strat player, but thinking of moving to Tele. Any tips for the move? The hardest thing about a Tele many times is the neck pickup for a Strat player, I find. So that one you see back there, I got these Ron Ellis pickups, and the neck pickup just sounds glorious in it for me. It's a different thing, but it's open and sounds fantastic. He manages to make a pickup that has a great clarity to it. for a telly. You know, something about the metal cover on a lot of telly, they can just be kind of darker. But other than that, I mean, you know, the thing to do when you're moving from guitar to me is just kind of have the expectation that each guitar is gonna. It's like, well, it's different. It feels different and it sounds different, and that I've grown accustomed to over the years. Like I used to want like all my guitars to kind of feel the same. You know, I like this fret size and these strings and these pickups, and this is my thing, you know. And then later on, I discovered like that baritone Dan Electro I got. I love that thing, and it's completely left field. The pickups, I don't even know what's going on with it, and it's just like fun to plug in a completely different thing and then make some music on it. So maybe don't start off with the expectation. Of course, it's going to be different, you know. But then the one thing about a telly that drives me nuts is sometimes the neck pickups can be dark. And you know, so I would suggest just finding a guitar that, yeah, I remember the Jerry Donahue Telecaster, for instance, from Fender, as having a Strat neck pickup, and I always thought that was cool. Or the John, some of those Nashville sort of tellies actually are I think that's the idea with a lot of those, is that they have a middle pickup. You know, they're kind of very versatile as far as the pickup switching. It's almost like combinations of Strat and telly pickups. So maybe that's a thing. Maybe you want to look for one of those if you haven't gotten a guitar yet. Something that's got a Strat neck pickup or a Strat middle pickup, you know, and that'll make the transition easier. What can you tell me about the differences between the Black Belt pickup and the Thornbucker Plus? Okay, I've had both of those. That's Steven. The second degree Black Belt is one that I've had. It's Alnico 5. I would say it's that brighter, more Alnico 5 hot, slightly on the hot side PAF thing, as opposed to the Thornbucker, which is probably like a little. Thornbucker's not going to have quite as much bass and not going to have quite as much sizzle on the top end. It's going to be a little more even with Alnico 4. And that pickup in that black kit guitar I have is the second degree Black Belt, and it's just a little hotter in the top end. So it's like great for Van Halen. Like if you're trying to, you know, get that kind of, you know, kick the front end of a Marshall with a slightly hot PAF and get that sizzly top end and chunky full bass. The Thornbucker is actually not, if you want to play like Van Halen tones, it's not actually the pickup that I would recommend as being my primary, you know, one that I would recommend. I think you need an Alnico for the later Van Halen sort of tones. You need an Alnico 5, I think, magnet. And I'm always fairly certain that he used the ceramic magnet Mighty Might type thing on Van Halen 1. But in other words, super distortion. And that's a big part of why that sounds different. Because once I tried that into a dime, I was like, oh, there it is. It's funny about that, just for a second about that. I remember trying ceramic magnet hot pickups back in the 80s and going, I don't like this. Like, they're too like gnarly in the top end, just kind of grindy, and they don't have any mids, and they're sort of more like this really hot, like sizzly thing. But then when you think about Van Halen 1, it's like, oh yeah, it's a really hot sizzly thing. And once I went back and tried a super distortion, it was like, oh, for that one thing, if you dime a Marshall and then play that pickup, it really sort of has that character to it. And I don't think he particularly liked that sound. You know, he was probably just trying to get more distortion and sustain, as he always, you know, he wanted more of that, but he probably actually wanted a warmer tone. I think it always seems like you want a slightly warmer tone, but with lots of gain. So hence he probably ended up with the Alnico 2 magnets in a 14K, you know, the Duncan custom style pickup or whatever. He went that way for a while. So that's very telling, I think. But anyway, do you have your Sir from the TC Nova System YouTube video? Tally Sal with Humbucker, says Michael. No, I actually sold that to a fella. I had that guitar for a few years, and really beautiful guitar. Linda Perry made a crack about it once, and it sort of ruined it for me. I don't know. It's cool, but she was like, oh, it looks like furniture, you know? She was always taking a piss out when I was working for her, but I was like, what? And, you know, and it sort of was that thing. It was like exotic wood flame Koa top kind of guitar, you know? And I kind of went, And then I just never felt the same about it, and I didn't play them. Interestingly, it's a, you know, not the same guitar, but I guess this is a completely different guitar actually, but it's a similar in body shape, and it's got 2 humbuckers. But this thing's a lot of fun. What I was just playing, I haven't had a lot of chance to play this guitar. I got it a while back, and this is a great guitar for, you know, it's one of the Sir Alt Ts, and it's hollow T, ash body, and 2 humbuckers and 5-way switch, so it's really versatile. The middle position is killing. The kind of like 2 humbuckers on, but it's got a lot of clarity. It's a really great rhythm guitar. All right. All right. Everybody says that sounds awesome. That's rad. I'm glad it sounds great. That the switcher finally came across. You know, it's really fun. Good and loud, says Oscillation Overdrive. Great. The Hoppo says, can you explain what causes dead or flat spots on the fretboard and how to get rid of them? I don't know that. That'd be a great Sir question. Let's text him and see if he'll get back. I'm going to send him a text. Because I'd be interested in a good answer to that too. Exactly what? Like, is it bad wood, or is it... What causes dead spots on a guitar? Let's ask him. See what he says. Some sort of response. He'll have a good answer for that. Studio looks fantastic, says Surfbite. Thank you. It's a mess right now. It's too many guitars going on. I'm actually working on video and stuff for something new that's coming. You guys know what it is. But anyway, it's right over there. You can't see it though. I'm not going to show you. But it's coming along great. And man, it's so much fun. Oh my God. All that tone is beautiful, says Daniel. Awesome. Thank you. Oh, I think I mentioned that already. Okay, moving down. On your Japan pedalboard core tones, this is from Scott S. Your tweed tones, what recorded song amp might be your inspiration for that? You know, like any, I mean, Hotel California is you know, a lot of that Eagle stuff is Tweed Deluxe. Tweed, Rolling Stones, you know, when I think of Keith Richards' sound, like that barely broken up, kind of warm, full, it's warm but clear and full through the mids. Neil Young, you know, I don't know. Like, I don't know if Cinnamon Girl was that, but that's what I think of. That kind of like, you know, that kind of, Cinnamon Girl's probably Tweed Deluxe, right? Somebody probably knows out there, but those are the tones that I think of. Yeah, and certainly like that warmer sort of, you know, Eagles when they were rocking, you know. I don't know what Life in the Fast Lane is. That could be, you know, probably Strat in position 4, and I bet you it's one of those Tweed. They use Fender combos a lot, I know. Let's see. So I always think of that. I was thinking of the Keith Richards kind of rhythm. You know, he plays those Tweed twins. How are you getting your guitar tone and your vocal mic to be used at the same time with the stream? Yeah, just to reiterate, it's the Samson, this guy, G-Track Pro. You can see there's a 1/4" input in the back. See on the front, there's 3 knobs. One's for the headphone level, and one is for the microphone level, and one is for the input for that 1/4" on the back. And this is a USB interface, so it's got a USB cable coming out of it, and it's going right into the computer, and this is how you're hearing me, is through the Samson mic. So this thing makes it very easy. It's called the G-Track Pro, and I'm a big fan of it. So the Marshall sounds the sickest, in my opinion, says John. You know, it's a funny thing. Through headphones, it's one thing, and then what you guys are hearing maybe through some speakers is another thing. It never sounds like great through just like Sony headphones or whatever, which are kind of bright. So the Marshall sounds the best out of all, says Dan. It very well might, and I just can't tell. I kind of want to try some different tubes in it. I've got some old Siemens and Mullards and stuff like that around here I want to put in there and try some different stuff, because right now it's just got, I think, JJs and then Chinese tubes in the preamp. And it deserves better tubes. Like the top hat down there has a Mullard XF3s in it or whatever, and nice tubes in the preamp. And it's not really a fair fight. Even the SL68 has Amperex and V1 and Mullard and V2 and, you know, all that good stuff. I just had it retubed with EH. I guess JJ EL34s, for those out there that have EL34 amps, they've become kind of inconsistent. Most of the amp guys that, you know, Friedman and Sir that I know, they've told me that they've switched the EH tubes because they're very consistent and they sound good. And I agree, they sound good. I always liked the EH EL34s when they first came out. I always thought they sounded really good. But that's a good thing to know if you've got an amp and maybe you bought a new one. It's got JJ EL34s. Just watch out because they seem to be super spotty these days. Let's see. Fair Petrucci says, did you get rid of the noise from the electric outlet? I can hear a radio station on my amp. Do you know a solution for that? You know, it can be like various things. It's a great thing to consult sort of somebody like Friedman about, to ask him how to maybe, you know, nail that down. It can be like all kinds of things, you know. Sometimes when I switch in certain pedals on boards I've had, it's like, oh, there's a radio station all of a sudden, like a Phase 90, you know. Speaking of which, good phaser pedal recommendation, a Phase 90. I kind of love the Phase 90. I actually have a Phase 95 on my, which is the little one, and it's got a switch for Phase 45 or Phase 95 circuit, and I think it's great. It's a small thing. It sounds terrific. It's got the script switch on it too. You know, it works great. I sort of love the Phase 90. If you want a different phaser sound, the Small Stone was always a favorite of mine. It's a little more, it's a little less defined and a little more watery, and like a lot of VH effects, like electroharmonic stuff, can be a little more, you know, that kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of more funky, you know. And I like that about their effects. So those have been traditionally my favorites. The Small Stone and the Phase 90, and now Phase 95 that's on my board. Okay, please comment on the Alt T. I am on the fence about getting that one. I have a T and love it. Which pickups in yours? That's from Adam. So this is Thornbuckers. They've started with the Thornbuckers in these from the get-go, which I appreciate. Thank you very much, sir. And they're awesome. Like, they sound great in this guitar. I mean, I don't mean just they're awesome. That sounds like I'm tooting my own horn. I mean, they're awesome in this guitar. That's what I meant. They really, like, in this particular, you know, here's a guitar. It's very different than what I would normally play. It's a hollow ash situation, semi-hollow ash situation. And to me, this guitar just has that ringy, you know, like it's halfway between a you know, single coil sound and a humbucker sound almost, with the hollow body and the sort of lower output humbuckers. It's just a lot of clarity. Great rhythm guitar, great guitar for all kinds of stuff. I love this guitar. I think it's great. You heard it at the beginning. And let's see. Lonnie says, great to hear you using it. Just about to buy an amp, Pete, here in the next month. Yeah, I love the switcher. I mean, it seems flawless, you know. I got to get the remote on my desk so I don't have to go over there when I switch. That's the only thing. Once I get that, I'll just be, I won't have to move at all. I can just be like here and do everything. I'll get fatter. Okay. Moving down. Is there anywhere in LA to audition some Thornbuckers? You know, the one store that's really central and they generally stock the pickups usually, I think, and they have Surs in stock, is the Mesa store on Sunset Boulevard. Is a Sur dealer. I'm not sure if a lot of people know that, but they don't carry the amps because they only carry Mesa amps, but guitars, pickups, pedals, they've got Sur stuff in there. So if you're in LA and you're on a trip or something, or you want to, you know, give them a call and see if they've got something with Thornbuckers in. They might, but that would be the easiest place, I would think. How do you deal with all the settings changes you need when you switch out guitars? Build a ton of sound banks. That's from LK Tube. Well, if you mean like trying to get all guitars to work into a rig, I kind of enjoy the sounds of the different guitars. So my amps are pretty flexible. And my pedal board gives me a lot of options for, boosting level or changing the tone through the pedals that are on there and stuff. So if I've got a particular guitar and it's like way less hot than another one, I can simply, turn on the compressor and maybe add a little bit of clean boost or something to kind of bump it. But I enjoy those differences, when I'm changing guitars. That's kind of a fun thing for me. Now, having said that, one of the things about Thornbuckers, and it was really going back to when I got my Gil Yaren guitar a number of years ago. The beautiful thing about that guitar was that the pickups in it, I didn't feel like when I went from a single coil guitar to the humbuckers in a Les Paul style instrument that I had to go back and change all my amp settings when I was you know what I mean? And that's one of the things about using humbuckers that aren't so hot, is that if you can use sort of single coils on the hotter end and humbuckers on the weaker end, then you can get the best of both worlds, and your tones sort of, amp tones. You don't have this like disparity of like, so much output all of a sudden. That said, it's nice to plug in a hot humbucker sometimes. Like for what I was doing yesterday, working on this video demo, I did play on one part of Grab a Guitar with a real hot pickup, my Steve Stevens Nags guitar back there, just because I wanted one track to have that, like, hot, like nailing the front end of the amp kind of thing. Every now and then it's cool. It's just generally not what I do. I sort of veer towards the PAF thing most of the time. I hope that explains. But yeah, I do make a lot of banks. I mean, generally on songs, like when I'm playing out and playing live on tour and stuff, I like to have sort of a bank or maybe at least a couple presets per song, and I'll name them, and I dial in. That's just how I approach things. I always seem to gravitate towards making 1, 2, maybe 3, maybe even 4 presets for a song for all the different tones that I need to do. And that's easy when you got a switching system and stuff, and then you can just dial things in. It just means that when you're getting ready for a tour, that initial, when you're learning the songs, dialing in the pedal board and stuff, and then when you're rehearsing, you spend all the time like kind of, that's when you dial in all your sounds. And then once you're out on the road, generally it's just a minor tweak here and there. You don't touch it for the next 3-4 months or a year or whatever. It's just like, then your sounds are all there and dialed. Hello from Denmark, says Cafzilla. What's up, man? I wanted to mention, I got to give myself a little bit of promo here. I started a merch store. So it's a Teespring store. There's a link on my website, petethorn.com. And I got to get one. I got to order my own merch this week. But so I'll have a official Pete Thorn mug for my, I thought it was funny, like to get a coffee mug for my live streams because I'm always drinking coffee. So I'll have a Pete Thorn coffee mug. Why not? But yeah, we got t-shirts and hoodies and mugs and all that stuff. So it's at my site. Yeah. Okay. What's your thought on tempo boards? I don't know those boards. Certain pedal board? Not familiar with those ones. I've been using the Friedman boards now for, I don't know, a few years, I guess, and really like them. Before that, it was a Trailer Trash, which worked good. Yeah. And moving down. Let's see. Have a morning cider. It's too early for that. Okay. What would sound better, Helix USB into a DAW or line out to an audio interface? That's from Chris. Well, in theory, the cleanest sort of representation of the device is going to be the USB out, because then it's just a digital out. And if you go into an audio interface, then you're coming through a digital analog stage, right? Going back into your interface through an analog to digital stage. So you're going to get two things. You're going to get a little more latency, and you're also going to get that extra conversion stage from analog to digital, which in theory isn't ideal. The best thing is just to go digital out of it. But whether you hear it or care, give it a try and see if it makes a difference. Converters sound great these days and pretty consistently good and stuff. So it might not be that big of a deal. Sometimes the easiest thing to do is just come like, oh God, I don't want to mess around with the USB and flipping my audio interface and all that on the computer. So I'll just come line out of the thing, plug into and then cut it apart, not worry about it. But best in theory would be to use the digital out. What variac again do you use to adjust the voltage to your amps? I don't know. I got a big red variac that my tech got me years ago, and I don't know what brand it is, to tell you the truth. But It's a great big one. It's completely useless info, I know, but it might be a good thing to ask somebody like Friedman that. Yeah, I just figured that bigger was better. Sorry to be morbid, but if fire breaks out in the studio, which guitar do you grab? That's Joseph. Probably my vintage ones and my D28, I guess. Yeah, I always hate, like, anytime I've sold old guitars that I've had, I always regretted it. So those are the ones that always, like, new guitars can generally be replaced. They're pretty consistent and stuff like that, but the old guitars are the ones you can't replace, really, if you bond with them. Have you ever used acoustic IRs live, says Jason? I have used them in my Helix and they worked well. Yeah, I have, and it worked great. I used some with a Takamine guitar I had in the Helix, and after the IR, and I think I blended the IR in at about maybe like 50% or 60 or 70%, because you can blend it, in the Helix. And there's somebody up in the chat up there. I'm just going to grab that. Sorry, top chat, and then I'll get back to that. Tom's up in the top chat. He says, best Les Paul style guitar, if I can't find or afford a Gillier LP style around 7 or 8K, I would look for a nice post 2013 Gibson Historic that you bond with. Very simple. For that kind of money, 7, 8K or less. Or, the Aura is pretty beautiful. The new Sur, I mean, God, they're gorgeous. And I'm not sure exactly how, it's probably right around your price range, or just a little bit more. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, barring that, look for a nice, Gibson's made some great stuff. And the post 2013 or 14, they really got, the neck shapes seem to get better. They got rid of the truss rod condom. The finishes look great. Anyway, where was I? I lost my place. Acoustic IRs. Yeah. So I blended in an IR on the Helix at about 60 or 70%. And then I used an EQ after it and a compressor, just added a little bit of compression. I got a great sound. And the result was always, the sound guy's like, what pickup's in that guitar? It sounds amazing. That kind of thing. And so it really worked well. And that was with a free IR that I found online. Literally just, went online, Googled acoustic IR, and you guys will probably find the same one if you go on Google and do it. Some guy uploaded some acoustic IRs that were, I think it was a Taylor like 314 guitar or something that he made impulses of. And there was a Sheps mic and a Neumann mic and a few others there. And I just found them online, and the Sheps actually sounded the best to me. One he did with the Sheps mic. And that worked really well. But I know there's companies like 3 Sigma, I think they're called, and they make acoustic IRs. There's probably some other ones out there now. Okay, moving down. I'll try and go faster here. Eric says, ever tried a Radial Twin City Bones AB? It's great for running 2 amps. Yes, they're great. The Radial stuff is great, and they make, easily available, easily to get proper AB boxes that are, with a proper buffer and isolation transformer for the B output, which you want, so you don't get a ground loop on it, as well as a phase switch, which you need if you're going to run 2 amps. And if you're ever going to run 2 different, like, you don't know what 2 you're going to run, you want to have the option, you always need a phase switch, because sometimes you're going to run into issues where one of the amps can be out of phase. So yeah, no qualms about I've recommended that Twin Bones box to many people when they're trying to find a nice ABY. Is there a boost pedal that boosts the mids more? Yes, the Coco Boost from Sur, which is fantastic. And they make 2 versions, a small one and a big one, and also this Unit 67. So the 2 I would recommend are the Unit 67 and the Coco Boost. There's a new one coming out from George from Metro. And I've got it sitting right over there. I was supposed to make a video of it. But anyway, it's a boost pedal that has a mid knob on it as well. So I think there's more and more of them coming out. Anything are you excited about seeing at the NAMM show? That's Sam. Well, the most exciting thing for me is my new amp that is going to be there, and there'll be information coming out about it soon. But that's the thing I'm most excited about. Other than that, I don't really know if anything's coming that haven't heard about anything else. There's that Audient thing that's like a preamp, like desktop preamp that works with 2 Notes products. I don't know if you guys have seen that. That looks interesting for recording. What else? Those are the things that I'm thinking of right now. But I think my amp is honestly going to be the coolest thing at the NAMM show. Let's see. Sir never got back to me about the dead spots. We'll see if he hits me back later. Okay, and I was going to try and do that last. In the market for an amp for my hollow body 2 for the piezo, it has dual outputs. You can go to Acoustic amp. It's BA Mozzie. All kinds of acoustic amps out there, but I'm not too familiar with a lot of them. Fishman's got some stuff. Trace Elliott, of course, they always have had acoustic amps. Let's see. How do you rate the Helix Stomp for direct recording over the reactive load IR type? Are you sort of are you asking about like specifically like if you're using amp models in a Helix as well as speaker simulation and then a real amp? And it's just that's from R. Anderson. How do you rate the Helix Stomp for direct recording over the reactive load IR type? I mean, sorry, I don't quite understand the question because I'm just wondering if you mean, a modeler versus a real amp into reactive load. In that case, the Helix is great, and it can sound really good with the right IR, and it's killer. It really is. Obviously, I've got all this stuff and the loads because I love doing this. There's more to it than just the sound to me. It's the dialing of the knobs instantly is great, to me. I love that about the tube amps. So, but it just depends on what kind of person you are, The Helix Stomp, the only thing I would say is if I was recording with it and I'm using it, I love the thing. It's a great pedal. I would recommend using it with the editor because it makes it so much easier to do different, when you're trying to remember what button to put. They had to make it small. This is this big. So how do you make something this big and then make it easy to get, I want more feedback on the delay, So there's a few button pushes involved. That's the only thing. So for recording, just get the editor and then it sort of solves all that with it and makes it a lot easier to use, I think. Steve says recording mixing EQ before compression or after? Well, that's an interesting question. Do you run an EQ before or after a compressor? Know that if you boost something and then run a compressor after that, it's going to kick the compressor harder and compress more. If you compress something and then put the EQ after it, you can then tailor the sound post compression, and you're what you're putting into the compressor EQ wise isn't gonna. Does that make sense? If you boost upper mids or something in an EQ before a compressor, now you're going to see the compressor start to squish more because you're actually bumping the level of a certain frequency and it's affecting the compressor. Or if you're fine tuning the tone of your already compressed signal, it's a different thing. And sometimes it's just like if on guitar, if I'm going for example, if you use a wah-wah into a compressor, that's a real extreme version, right? The wah is going to collapse the compressor as you hit those real loud frequencies, and it's going to squish the compressor more. Or you can put it, you can put the wah post compressor, and then you're just going to be, which is probably what I would do in that particular situation. But it really just depends, and you almost have to try it different ways. It's an exceedingly easy thing to do in a DAW, where you can just put up 2 plugins and then bump them around. And that's a great way to experiment, but it's different for every sound. It depends on what you want to do. Honestly, if I'm trying to keep level really consistent and stuff, and I'm I'm dealing with a drum thing or something like that, I might do all the EQing before and then it just depends. You're making me think about it, the different situations. And many times I try it and see which one I like. So it's just, it's in theory, it's going to do this. And then actually in practice, what does it sound like? You have to try it. Let's see. Do you use stereo pairs microphones for tracking acoustic guitar, and which microphone model? Rarely. I usually track in mono and then do a stereo pair of guitars and double track. That's just what I tend to do. The stereo pair thing, what I find is that because if you're the engineer and you're sitting there, with headphones on and listening, and you're the player and you're moving the mics around and trying to make sure, like, it's really hard to tell what it sounds like. Like, you almost have to record the acoustic guitar and then listen back, because with the guitar right in front of you and a mic here and a mic here or something, and the guitar is right there, you can't tell what's what, like, as far as the image goes. And it's just like so you have to experiment a lot. So just out of ease of, recording, I tend to record a stereo. If I want a stereo guitar, I'll play the part twice and hard pan it. That's just what I always gravitate towards. But if you want to play some beautiful fingerstyle, one part thing, then you got to kind of move the mics around and stuff. There's different ways to do it. Generally, where I like a mic on an acoustic guitar, if I'm going to use one, is in front of the guitar, and I kind of do it like where the neck meets the body, because I find if it's in front of the sound hole, it sounds bassy. I did a whole video on this, mixing acoustic guitars, if you guys want to check it out. But I find the mic here gets a lot of off the sound hole of the guitar and a lot of energy. So I just move it off the sound hole a bit where the neck meets the body. A good friend of mine, Frank Symes, taught me that. And it always seems to work for me. You get a nice sparkly sound, enough fullness coming off it's like a balance, So try that if you're recording acoustic guitar. Just put the mic, right about here on where the neck meets the body. And then as far as the other mic goes, there's different things I've tried. I've seen engineers put them sometimes in sessions. They put them over my shoulder, facing down at the guitar like this. I thought that was interesting, But you got to play with phase. You got to collapse to mono and make sure that the guitar sound isn't all screwed up by the two mics. And it's best, if you're not the engineer and the guitarist in those situations. I just find that's difficult. I do have these two great Audio-Technica microphones here though now, and I've got a stereo pair, and so I am going to experiment with it a little bit. All that said, you saw it for the first time in the orange video, and you heard the Audio-Technica, the ATM 450, and I think it's a great sounding microphone. I love Audio-Technica mics. They do great stuff for like really reasonable prices. Okay, happy Sunday, Pete. It's inspiring watching your live stream from your new music studio while I'm working on setting up my studio. That's from Eric. Awesome. Thank you for everything that you share. Thanks, Eric. Thanks for being here. What are the benefits of active pickups, says Gustavo? Well, so you're buffered right out of the guitar is the thing with active pickups. It's got a preamp circuit in it. And in other words, the output of the guitar is low impedance. And what that means is you're going to be able to push through long chains of effects and things like that with no problems right out of the guitar. You're not going to get any of the high-end roll-off or anything that cables and stuff like that can do. That could be viewed as a disadvantage as well. So if you like the tone of a 20-foot cable or something like that, you're negating that right out of the guitar. And incidentally, just to sort of reiterate a fact that most people should know, if you use a wireless system, you're doing the same thing. Essentially, you're active coming right out of the guitar, because the output of the wireless is going to be low impedance. So, but, active pickups, preamps in the guitar, you can do things like what Gilmore was doing in the 80s. You can have EQ on the guitar. My bass back there, my Warwick, it's got an active preamp in it. Active pickups, active preamp with bass, middle, treble controls. And I love boosting the mids on it. And for rock bass tones, it just does this cool thing. So it's that works good. It can be a cool thing. That said, I've never owned an EMG pickup. I've never owned one. I kind of would like a Strat with the classic SA set. That'd be cool. I would just like to have one set of active pickups in a guitar, just because it's something different that I've never done. Hey, Pete, reverb into dirty amps just for a tiny bit of added complexity or bloom. Do I like that? That's from Andy. A reverb into if it's the right reverb, a springy reverb blowing up into a slightly dirty or downright crunchy amp can be a cool thing for a certain sound. It definitely starts to sound, if the amp's getting pretty crunchy, it starts to sound pretty indie rock to me. It's a thing, for sure. And it sort of became more popular in the last 10 years or something. I heard more of that, on recordings and stuff. It sounded like it was an amp reverb or a pedal going into an amp, kind of blowing up the reverb. It can be good, but if you do anything that's downright dirty, then it just turns into mud to me. So it's a fine line, I guess, is what I'm getting at. You like Taylor guitars, got a new 2019 324 CE V-Class on hold, says Braxall. The V-Class thing's interesting. Have you guys checked those out, the Taylor V-Class guitars? They do have a completely different sound when you compare two models that are the same, one V-Class and one. Essentially what it is, the bracing in most acoustic guitars are like an X bracing, and these V-Class guitars it's like a V. And it has a different effect on the low end and on the sustain of the guitar and the clarity. They claim that as you move up the neck, chords are more in tune all over the neck. There's more sustain on single notes and that kind of thing. I like it. I like things about both the sounds, though. Like when I tried, it's no different than like comparing all those amps or whatever. You try a regular guitar and then the V-Class Taylor, and it's like if it's apples to apples, like they're both the same model Taylor, but with the different bracing, then you really know. And I was like, I thought I was going to maybe like, I don't know, maybe naively, I thought I was going to vastly prefer the V-Class or something, but actually there was things I liked about both of the guitars for different reasons. So, yeah, there is a thing to the clarity, though. There's a thing about the low end on the regular bracing. That's what I found. And then there's the clarity. It was like a clearer sound, but without as much bass and stuff. Kind of like attenuated bass a little bit on the V-Class. That's what I found. I want to try them more. Four Walls Music says, you write so much music. Do you ever forget how to play something you've created on guitar? Dude, I don't remember anything. If I had to go back and play, I got to go back and learn everything again. I have a very short, like basically the songs that are in my head are for a set of music or something. I have to like learn those. At any given time, maybe at different times, I've had like 3 or 4 sets of music running around my head, depending on how many gigs I'm doing. But I'm not a guy that retains things very well. So if I'm going to play a set of music or get ready for a gig or something, I have to go back and actually relearn everything. Yeah, totally. And when I'm recording, I tend to come up with things on the spot and just like sit there and play over things and then write and then track. Like once I get it, it's like, okay, there's the part. And then I track it and then I move on. Maybe by the end of the song, I don't even remember how to play like a part I played in the middle of the song. So know that I don't have some like incredible memory of, actually I have a crappy memory, but that's part of the fun part to me. Actually, maybe is just the music kind of going through you. And then you move on and then, and then create something else and, that kind of thing. Speaker choice on the PT50 cab. Yeah, that's from Chris. Well, so I listened to those Neo speakers, Neo creamback speakers, which are supposed to sound like a greenback basically. And I like them. They do have a nice smoothness to them. The regular greenback from Celestion had maybe it seems like it's about a dB louder, like more efficient. And also it's just a little ballsier sounding or something. The other speakers sound a little more relaxed than Neo. And it great speaker. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend them. I don't think I want to use them in my cabinet particularly, just because the difference is, number one, this amp is going to be not a 100-watt amp. It's a lower watt amp. So it's like there's something about the authority of having a little bit more speaker efficiency that I think is important. In a 100-watt amp, you could like a speaker with 96 dB efficiency, like a Heritage greenback, can be a good thing, because it can tame the crazy output of the amp a little bit. But in a low output amp, where you maybe are trying to get as much headroom as you can because it's a lower output amp, it's like maybe not such a good thing to use something like a Heritage greenback or something. And that's kind of what the Neo creamback sounded like to me. It sounded like it was, a little more relaxed, like a real broken in greenback that's got a little lower efficiency or something. So that's the only thing. Great sounding speaker, but I think I'm going to go a different way. And actually in a cabinet, which we have this cool new cabinet, it doesn't really strike me as that much lighter. It's a little bit lighter for sure, but it was like, it wasn't like a, some sort of like deal breaker or something. So, what strings are you using on electric guitar? That's from Dag. Well, I've been a long-time Ernie Ball guy. And I've experimented with other things recently, but I'm still going to use Ernie Ball. There's so many great strings out there. I was experimenting with some Diodarios lately. Great sounding strings and really nice. But Ernie Ball has been great to me over the years, and I think they're great strings. Some people think that they don't like them as much. I don't know why. I mean, they're terrific sounding strings. They're consistent. I don't know. Ernie Balls are great. So anyway, I'm sticking with them, and they've got some new. They actually have something new coming at NAMM, which is great. So you guys will find out about that soon. But so that sort of influenced me to just stick with them. I'll say that my favorite strings are Diodario and Ernie Ball, and Ernie Ball is my go-to because I've had a long association with the company for well over 10 years now. So I'm sticking with them for the time being. Cool company. I like Sterling a lot. He's a great guy. He's tight friends with John Sir. They like barbecue and stuff like that. Oh, John doesn't barbecue anymore because he's vegan. Never mind. They're not going to do that anymore. He's not actually vegan. He eats fish. He's pescatarian. YouTube audio sampling rate is about 140 kilobyte per second, says Uncle. Chumpy says, sorry if this has been covered before, but what is your method when recording? Do you make demos first and layer on top of that? Also, do you start with the guitar or start with the drums and bass? There is no formula really, but what I'll tend to do is get a cool guitar sound going. Most of the work I've done writing has been these pedal demos. So it's like I'm sitting down coming up with something for a pedal. So I'll plug in the pedal into what I think is probably an appropriate amp, and then I'll start to play and see what comes out, and then go, oh, it sounds cool or whatever. And then I'm pretty quickly I'll get a drum groove up. I'll find the tempo of whatever I'm coming up with, get a click going, and then I'll go, what kind of drums would work with that? And I'll find, tap in a groove or whatever into Superior Drummer, find some drum grooves, and then and then things start flowing after that. And it's generally sort of like I'm coming up with the drums and the guitar at the same time. And I'll lay down some sort of, complete guitar part. I use my phone a lot during that process too, by the way, like so that I don't forget. Because if the phone rings or I hear some other song, then it's gone. I don't remember what the hell I just played, the riff or whatever I wrote. So I'll turn on this is the greatest thing for archiving. Generally I'll just come up with a little part, and then I'll turn on the recorder in the phone, and just maybe I'll, like, before I even record it in Logic, I've got the drum groove going, and then I'm using the mic on my iPhone to just play the part into there, and then I know it's there. Many times if I'm starting something, that's all I'll do is get a basic groove going and then write the body of the tune and just iPhone it, and then if it's like late in the day and I'm like, okay, that's enough for today, I'll start on this tomorrow with sort of fresh ears and brain. Then I'll come back, open up the phone and listen to that idea. And then, oh yeah. And then find the part again. And, and then I start laying it into Logic. All right. Good evening in Spain, says Pepe. What's up? How are you, man? Hope you're having fun over there. Any advice for getting into demoing pedals and talking to companies, says Everyday Guitarist. Leave that up to me. Go play in a band or something. No, I don't know. I mean, my only advice for doing YouTube and stuff like that is you got to come up with something unique, because there's already so many of us out there doing it that it's like you have to have your own angle. So like I love the different approaches that people have, all the usual suspects, but everybody does it a little bit different. Just come up with your own thing. Maybe you do all your demos sitting out by the pool or something, and in a Hawaiian shirt or something, whatever it is. You got to come up with a unique angle so that it's something different, and people are like, "Oh, this guy's different. I'll watch this guy." I've actually had people say to me, which worries me a little bit, like younger guys, kids, come up to me and go, "I want to do what you do. I want to do YouTube and do pedal demos," and I'm just like, no, dude, don't do that. Like start a band and write songs. This is something that just started on the side. It's like not supposed to be the end goal. It's great. I love doing it, but it's like it's write songs and like play in a band with people and like go out and play in clubs and stuff like that. This isn't I want to do what you do. I don't, it just seems weird to me. Does that make sense? I don't know. We got to have more like songs and bands and people playing and, and stuff like that. And maybe I'll tell you this much. With YouTube, consider this. This is the biggest tip, one of the biggest tips I've learned about YouTube and doing the social media thing and stuff in general. You look at somebody like me, and then you look at somebody like Leo from Frog Leap, right? Maybe he's watching. I hope so. Sometimes he does. Leo is a bona fide independent music artist that just came up with an angle that was amazing because he's great at video editing. He was obviously a good producer. He could play a bunch of instruments. At that point, you could do whatever you want. Be like, well, I can do gear demos, or I can do this, or I can do that. And he's like, I'm going to do metal covers of songs that people wouldn't normally do metal style. And I'm going to do it super legit, so it sounds great. And he has 2 whatever million YouTube subscribers, and he's an independent music artist is what he is, And I'm not, well, I have 2 albums out and stuff, but I haven't made my, it's just what I'm getting at is it's a more targeted niche, And so when you're coming up, if you want to start a YouTube channel or something like that, think about that. Like what would, like little kids all the way to grandparents can watch Leo's thing and they don't even have to be musicians or whatever, and they can enjoy it and probably subscribe to his channel and stuff. Pedal demos, I'm not so sure, right? It's like, it's a very targeted, so whatever you decide to do with your if you're starting a YouTube thing, you have to enjoy it. If you want to do the pedal thing, just know it's a more targeted sort of niche thing. Maybe you can come up with something that combines, it's really interesting to get together with these other YouTubers and talk to them. And you go like, oh wow, like they had a whole vision that was different than, everybody's. It's like starting a band. It's like everybody's different, and every single one is different, So, and much like starting a band, you don't want to copy anybody like what I do, because then you just be like, oh, they're just like a copy of that guy, I've seen other people copy the little format that I do pretty closely, and it always kind of like, it's like, oh man, like do your own thing, Anyway, love your guitar playing, says Jason. Thank you. Appreciate you sharing your talent. Thanks. Yeah, I didn't mean to say I'm not I have 2 solo albums out and stuff like that, but I just haven't made that my primary YouTube. Maybe if I did, I don't know, through maybe, your angle could be like you write music, and I'll just give you ideas, it's like you write music, you come up with a song, and then you come up with a complete breakdown, like lesson on how to play it. Like somebody like Leo, right? Like a different thing he could have done is be like, okay, I'm going to write a song, I'm going to track it, I'll make a cool video, and then I'm going to teach every single part and show what I did and how I got the sound for the guitar, the bass, the drums, and what I was thinking when I did each thing. That would be a really cool channel. Like, watching somebody like break down their production ideas as well as how they played each part, because he's a multi-instrumentalist, that would be really interesting, I think. Somebody else can run with that. VW guy says, just joined. Can you show us the guitar you got and give us some details about the guitar? Is it this one that you mean? This is an Alt T that I've had for quite a while. I actually played this on my record and stuff. I used it, but this is a ash body, Thornbuckers, semi-hollow, and it's got that. You can hear it like a big, pretty loud, it's like that early 70s, vibe almost. And I think of it as a great rhythm guitar. I mean, you can play lead on it as well, of course, but it's got a great jangly kind of, fat but clear sound. Yeah, the comparison of that Marshall to the SL68 sounded better, honestly, says Adam. Yeah, I'm going to get the Marshall probably tubed and, look at putting some Primo. I got some better tubes I can put in there and stuff, maybe tweak it a little bit. The SL68 it's hard to deny that it sounds great. Morning from Toronto, says Charles. What's up, Charles? Pete, you need to upgrade your video quality. Love the shows, but it's tough watching the blurry vids, says Armando. I don't know, man. Does anybody care? I mean, it's just the camera in my thing, I think people mostly come here for the it looks clear on my screen, so maybe it's the way it's transmitting out of Google Chrome. I don't know. Or, it's connection time. I've got super fast upload here. I kind of, But my whole thing with doing this, the YouTube and doing this and stuff like that, is I just don't sort of really care about the video quality that much. Now, that said, I've gotten like a little more into recently, like trying to make sure the videos are lighted right that I make for my demos and stuff, because I know it's a thing, but I'm not the guy that's going to get the 4K cameras and, you know, all that shit. I just don't care. I just want to play guitar and come up with the parts. And then the amount of effort that I put into the video is like, it's already like, does you guys really care? I don't really care. I don't think it's why people watch me. They watch me for the you know, information and for the music, which is what I want to keep the focus on. I almost like the DIY like bullshit quality to my video, because you can tell that I don't have it's just me. It's like I'm just a guy sitting here doing it, you know. And I almost view that as hopefully charming. Amara says, please explain the diffusion wooden panels on either side of the desk. They look like wooden pallets, wood choice, length and width of planks. I don't know, dude. Honestly, I've never measured them. And I don't know if you can see over there far enough. I don't think I can turn the, well, okay, there's the edge of one, right? So over there, that thing. I honestly don't know the exact specs of them. The guy made them for me. And they essentially, they're packed with insulation. That's like that 703 stuff, supposedly different and better, but similar, you know, rock wool, whatever. And, you know, they're made of wood, hard back and packed full tight. And then they've got slats that are all different on the one side with little holes in between that are of varying. And some of the slats are a little bit longer, so they're actually angled, like, you know, they actually bulge out a little bit. So in other words, it's all broken up a little bit, which is the idea. It's supposed to break up sound waves so that it's not a perfect wall. You're taking two walls on either side of you and you're essentially splitting them up and making that, you know, breaks up the waves. And what the guy told me was that these things absorb below 350 hertz bass, low mids and bass, and then they diffuse above 350 hertz. So you're not killing all the sound in the room. You're absorbing the bass that is the problem. You're diffusing sound above that and breaking up waves so that you can keep your room slightly live, but without any kind of, you know, weird frequency buildup. And the whole thing kind of starts on the fat end, which is this side, and then tapers down the wall. So it starts about this thick and ends up here, you know. And you could probably, I don't have specs, I've never measured, but that's the idea. The guy that designed them for me was a guy, I'll give you his name and maybe you can find him on Facebook or something. His name's Kato Ishibashi, Japanese guy, Kato Ishibashi. It was a number of years ago. And you could say, can you make me something like Pete Thorn's? I know you want to do it DIY, but let's see. Kurt says, I'm finally cataloging my vinyl collection using Discogs. Very interesting and useful. Getting some old music out and listening. I've got a vinyl collection I haven't even listened to for years, and I've got two turntables that are both not working properly, and I need to get a system at home. I don't know. I kind of love the idea of having a hi-fi set up at home with a turntable and stuff and listening to some records and stuff, but so much stuff to do all the time. So I haven't done that yet, but anyway, let's see. Difference between vintage tubes versus brand new, says Mr. K. You know what the main difference is probably quality, consistency, more than sound. I don't know. Some people might argue with that. But the problem is, you know, the good old tubes that were made, especially probably in the US, were the most consistent ones. I mean, I remember talking with Fred from Divided by 13 about old Mullards and stuff. And he was like, yeah, you know, he's like, it's whatever, like sound good and stuff, but he's like, they broke all the time. He's like, you know, they weren't, it's not like they were really consistent, you know. And that would sort of be in keeping with England and electronics, right? When we think about MGs and cars like that, they're not known for their, like, you know, even old Marshalls, not known for their, like, you know, built like a brick shithouse builds or anything. No, you know. So I would say that the American tubes, the main thing is probably the consistency. There's good, because, you know, the EH stuff seems really well made. That's what I was saying about the EL34s. Great reliability. I was talking to Friedman about it the other day, and he says he's had maybe one failure, and this is out of, probably, at this point, maybe hundreds, if not thousands of tubes. So I do like some old tubes for the tone, though. Old Siemens sound really great to me. RFT preamp tubes, Amperex Bugle Boy tubes I love, and preamps of Marshalls, in simple point-to-point amps where you can really hear the, simple amp circuits without too much gain. You can hear the differences. I heard the other day when my new amp, I went to try it, and I was like, sounding dark. Why does it sound dark today? And I was like, is there a JJ in the preamp? And boom, V1 JJ. And I was like, John laughed at me. But the JJs are quiet, but they're I don't like the tone of them. I like the Chinese preamp tubes for new ones. If they're tested in high gain and stuff, they just have more clarity. You can hear it like instantly. It sounds like you put a little blanket over the tone if you use a JJ and V1, but they will perfect from microphonics and stuff. On a quest for a tri-chorus, thanks for the Nunaber inspired demo, says Mark. Mark is up in the top chat. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. How's it compared to the full tone TERC, that rack chorus thing, or original tri-chorus? It sounded great to me. I've never A-B'd them directly. I have the full tone in my rack here, and it sounds great. I put it in the rack just in case I ever want to do that thing. I can patch into it on my patch bay really easily. It's killer. No reservations about Nunaber. They make incredible sounding pedals. So if you need it in a pedal, that would probably be the one I would get, I would say. There's also someone else up there. Andrew's in the top chat. He says, "Hey Pete, congrats on the new studio." Thank you, sir, and thanks for doing the top chat thing. I was wondering where you got your amp shelves. They are custom. Kato had them made. Kato Ishibashi is the fella that designed all the panels in this room, as well as the shelves for the amps. He didn't build them, but he has a guy that he uses to build that stuff. He's a young, ambitious guy that I hired to do all the panels in this room. And let's see. I have some vintage Who on vinyl, says Kurt. Yeah, it's good stuff. I like listening to the vinyl for sure. Pete, reaching behind your amps while holding the guitar, any worry about bumping the speaker out jack and getting a shock? I've had something happen once, and Jim Kelly explained it to me, where I touched the speaker cable and was also holding, but you have to be touching something else. I can't remember what it is. And I got a pretty wicked shock, actually. And then he explained it to me. So maybe somebody can chime in and fill me in on what it was. I don't remember, but generally speaking, if you're gonna reach back and just don't touch the strings of the guitar, just hold the wood of the guitar. I don't know technically what I did. I touched, he explained it to me, and I can't remember. What else we got here? Is it true thin line F-hole guitars like that T-style are for weight relief only and don't add significant acoustic tones? That's from Eric. I think that a thin line guitar, or certainly a 335, has a certain sound. And you hear it in the pickups. You do. It totally comes through the pickup to me. I don't know. It's like night and day. It's like, my 335 has this like springy thing to it that you just hear in the in the tone. Let's see what else we got here. I have a baritone Dan Electro, says Sam. Love it. I love mine too. So much fun. Different guitars can inspire you to play different things, says B.A. Mozzie. Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And that's what's fun. You pick up a baritone or a different kind of guitar and you'll write a different kind of part. I love that. What do you recommend for a 335-ish guitar? I would just get a great 335. I have, my old one, but I mean, Gibson, 339 is a nice thing too, by the way. If nobody's ever tried one of those, check the small body. Yogi used to have one when we were playing with Chris Cornell together. It was a red one. It was beautiful, great sounding guitar. Kind of a bit more like a, like almost a 355 vibe with, I think it had an ebony board and block inlays and stuff. And it was red with a Bigsby and kind of deluxe. But that small body, really nice. Really cool. Anybody else make one? I don't know. Collings, I think, don't they make one? It's nice. Any more EVH stories you can share, or how to practice getting that EVH swing he does in his rhythm playing? Listen to "I'm the One" at very low very low speeds, usually. You know, you have to get that. That's the and it's about that attack, right? I'm really accentuating, but he does too. He picks hard. That's an important one to know. And through an old Marshall, it just goes when you do that, right? Like a dimed, there's that sound to an old plexi. And when you lay into it, it does that thing. So the big part of the tone is the hands and the way that he plays that stuff. It's not my story, but I remember Lonnie Totman, who teched for him for a while and also teched for me, saying that one time Lonnie was playing one of his guitars and Eddie came up behind him and he wrapped his hands around it, and he started playing the guitar. And Lonnie was right there. And so he goes, it was amazing. It was like a lesson, because all of a sudden he's right there and I'm in the position that his hands would be in. And he said his attack on especially the right hand, he really saw it and felt it then, because he's holding the guitar and Eddie's playing it. And he was like, that's how you pick? Oh my God. And then he really, that clued in for him, one of the important things. But that's it. So it's the swing, and also then when you're swinging, and then when you do attack, you really, hopefully that's probably almost the best way to demonstrate that, just through the microphone with no amp or anything. But that snappy, when you really lay into it. Slow down his parts using transcribe or something like that if you're trying to learn. There's plenty of these isolated tracks on YouTube and stuff now. So listen to them isolated. That's helpful. But then also slow them down. Listen to like Hot for Teacher, for example. You know what I mean? You want get the pulse. That's probably clipping like crazy, but you get my point. The really aggressive, relentless swing, and you can't lose it for a second. If it goes now you've lost it. You gotta. It's this relentless thing that it's like the lost art of how to swing. It's so cool though. It's a great sound. What's your favorite overdrive pedal? Says Locke. I don't have a favorite, but I've got my ones I use on my board that I love. I love Klon and Klon type pedals. I discovered that I really bond with those for lead boost. So I have an Archer on my board, and I have a Janray on my board, which I use, as I was saying earlier, for Tweedy type things. I think of it as a Tweedy kind of fat mids sort of pedal. That's just how I hear it. But I'm excited to try. They have a new pedal coming that is no secret now, I don't think, so I can talk about it. Where the hell is it? It's let's see here. This thing, which I put a little video of on my channel. It's a collaboration with Ibanez and Vemaram. So this is a prototype, but that's going to be cool to hear it now. But it's neat because I've always been a fan of not like a huge Tube Screamer fan, but I'm a fan of Janrays. So it's like I like what those guys do. It works for me. I've used that pedal for a long time. So. Hey Pete, what do you think of the Fender Hot Rod Deluxe? Hello from France. Good basic clean amp. I don't like the drive sounds on them, but a lot of people are successful with the clean channel, running pedals into them and stuff, and they're a good basic sort of backline thing. To tell you the truth, the amp that I like, the Fender that I like, if I had to rent for backline, is the 59 Bassman. Is great with pedals. Sounds great. I mean, it's basically a Marshall circuit essentially, like JTM 45. And that amp to me, the 410s and everything, it's just, I don't know. I like that particular, like for a newer Fender amp, Reissue Bassman is the one that I really like. Okay. God, I'm probably really far behind in the comments here. We got 457 people online. Pretty good. Fishman pickups, digging Tosin's clean sounds with the Fishman's and the contrast he gets from clean to dirty. I believe he's using those Fluence pickups, which are very different, and I have yet to try. Doesn't he have a isn't that what he's doing? Fender's Twisted Telly. This is a good recommendation, because somebody was asking earlier about tellies, and if you're moving from a Strat to a telly, how to be comfortable with that. And I said the biggest thing is the neck pickup is difficult for Strat players because it's so different on a telly and it can sound dark. So Nick is recommending the Twisted Telly neck pickup, and that's right. I remember it has a Strat type neck sound to it. That's probably a real good recommendation for an easily available telly style pickup that will give you closer to a Strat sound, which I think for the most part, if we're talking about a typical old telly neck pickup or a typical old Strat pickup, the Strat wins. I just think so for most guys. You know, that airy, blowing over a glass bottle tone, that hollow Hendrixy thing or whatever. I just like that sound more than if I think about like telly neck position players, I don't know. There's some out there, but nobody that, a Strat neck pickup is just a classic, epic, awesome sound. So that's the biggest thing you'll miss. The Ron Ellis pickup, once again, that's in that blonde telly back there. I guess it's not blonde, but is it cream color, whatever you call that color? I love that too. Ron makes a great pickup. Andrea says, hi, Pete. When you practice with a metronome, you raise the speed steps by 2 to 3 BPM, or practice with more big steps like 10 BPM and then slow down a little. I've heard both methods kind of work. I've tended to do just the slow increments, but then some people like Andy Wood has this thing about like when you're trying to get faster at something to just floor it. But he's an incredible guitar player too, with impeccable technique. I don't know if that works for me. Like for me, generally just the small increments seems to work leading up to the, that the guy has a very successful YouTube channel. I think it's Paul Davids is his name. He's got a great thing about learning a difficult part in a metronome challenge over I watched a video that he did that was interesting about learning a complex part. And he kind of, made a video about it. Every day he would show his progress over 7 days or something using the metronome and how successful he was. It was a good watch. You might check that out. Do you know when the Friedman Mic Nomo will be released, says Leonard? I'm not sure, actually. I thought it was already out, isn't it? Maybe it's coming out at NAMM. I don't know that. That's his kind of analog mic emulation box. What's the difference between the SSV and the Thornbucker? Unbalanced coils is a big one, and also the type of magnet. Thornbucker has a Alnico 4 with unbalanced coils as opposed to Alnico 5 with balanced coils. So those are the two main things in the design, which both those things will affect the sound quite a bit. How much are you using the UA aux in your workflow? A lot. I love it. It sounds great. I used it. If you listen to that Fuzz pedal video I did, for instance, that's the aux. There's a fair amount of room mic mixed in on that, room mic, the aux virtual room on the main guitar part, main baritone guitar part. And it really, it's cool. So I love the aux. It's a great thing. Reactive load, you heard it at the beginning of this video. It's great too. Both work well. I'd say I use them about 50-50 as far as like when I'm using a load box. It's about 50-50 these days. Brad says, just picked up a Fender thin line telly with P90s. Not so sure about the semi-hollow thing. How are you liking yours? I just like it for a certain thing. As I say, when I pick up this guitar, I'm generally thinking clean or rhythm guitar sounds. It's kind of more scoopy type tones, but maybe with humbuckers. Like there's a lot of clarity in the middle position on this guitar that I love for the tube humbuckers on. I guess I can turn it on and just, let's see. Let's take a listen. Let's have a little audio break and play something. I think it's working. Good chord. Yeah, okay, it's working. So okay, that's the bridge pickup, obviously. Here's the middle. So that's humbuckers, right? type of, you know. You can roll it down on this guitar because it's got the cap. You know, there's a lot of like clarity in that. It's almost like an acoustic like quality that I love. So that's what I think I use this guitar for, and that's a humbucker sound. I mean, the single coils in it'll get really like it's humbucking. Fucking headphones keep muting the guitar. Right, neck humbucker. Single coil. Oh, sorry, shit. That was the I get mixed up because my signature guitar has the. I was like, wow, that is clear for a humbucker. That's the single coil. My switch is backwards on my own guitars. Single coil. So this guitar, because the volume control has the cap and resistor on it, you can get all those varying degrees of clarity. Like even, you know, I'm playing through the SL68, so it's like, right, almost get basically clean. Right, so you can get all that color out of one guitar. So for that, it's like, it's a really great thing. But I do think of it as that kind of like what I was just doing, like sort of chords and chordal, I don't know, like playing mostly rhythm guitar stuff is mainly what I would do with this guitar. I have it sort of set up with not super low action. It's like kind of more like a little bit higher and stuff, and it tends to work well for the type of stuff I was just doing. You know, if I don't know, you don't need to think about a tone or whatever. Like in your head when you're tracking a song, you think about like okay, I want this kind of thing, and then you just go Vox, and this in the middle is what I'm going to do for that sound. That's just kind of what I gravitate to this guitar. I wouldn't ever probably play with like a ton of gain or pick up this thing if I wanted to play like a ripping solo or whatever. So, yeah. Have you ever used a guitar with onboard electronics? And we kind of had that question earlier. That's from Ted. Thinking about putting a 20 dB boost and possibly a buffer in, all bypassable. If you can bypass it, I mean, interesting thing. I mean, you know, it's a thing of like, I guess it's a cool thing. Like Eric did that on the, Eric Clapton always had the Fenders with the mid boost built into the guitar. You know, that was kind of the idea with that guitar, is that he could get his lead tones and stuff right out of the guitar. I guess it's an interesting thing. I mean, some people have done it successfully. It's not really my thing. I don't know. I'll just hit a pedal or something. But you know, there's plenty of people that have done it. And like I said, I do like it in my bass. I've got the bass with a preamp built in, bass middle treble controls on it. I use the mid control a lot. God, I feel like I'm getting sick. Not good. I guess if you're gonna get sick before NAMM, right? Get it over with. Something's going on though. Is it possible to use more than one wah pedal on a pedal board? Like, what if you have two different wah pedals that do different tones? No, that's from Dr. Raven. No reason why not. You could totally do that if you want. I mean, different wahs is definitely a thing, you know. They all sound different. Rico USA is up in the top chat. Hello, good sir. He says, have you ever played any Fender Strat Pluses from the late 80s with blade sensor? I had one. Wilkinson Nut TBX tone circuit. I had one, actually, yeah. How does it compare to the best Strats Fender has made post CBS? It was a good guitar. I scalloped it because I was going through an Ingve phase. So I scalloped my lace sensor Strat. I had a surf green with a maple board. It was a pretty good guitar, but yeah, I really turned it into a thing by aggressively scalloping it, I will say. Anyway, thanks for doing the top chat there, Rico USA. It was a good guitar. I don't really bond with the lace sensor pickups. They were a little bland to me. But, you know, had some interesting things with the roller nut and stuff, I guess. Properly mixing the two telly pickups, this is from Skeleton Pete, can give you a great jazz tone. Round sound, but can still sit on top of a mix. I think that that's true. There's definitely a thing to the, you know, folks that know how to use a telly properly. Especially with the traditional, you know, the traditional wiring in a telly. I mean, yeah, like Ted Green, right? He got incredible tones out of a telly. He also did a lot of mods to them, but yeah, it's just, I think it's kind of it's a specific thing, you know, the telly neck pickup and stuff. If that's your vibe, then that's your vibe. But the Strat just has more appeal universally, I would say. Glenn Franco says, hope to see you at NAMM. I will be there, sir. I will be there. Hope to see you as well. And Dr. Raven is just asking about the wahs again. Yeah, there's no problem using two wahs. You're asking about true bypass wahs, though. Know that a true bypass wah, that many times they can actually be, like, you know, I just find wahs in general can be tone suckers. So I would put a buffer before my wah-wah pedals, no matter what, volume pedals and wah-wah pedals. Put the buffer before the pedals, and then sure, use true bypass wahs after that. But I think it's a good thing to have a buffer in front of a wah so that they don't suck tone. I know you're saying true bypass, but just know your true bypass pedals, and more stuff that builds up, and I don't know. It's like, you know, capacitance can be an issue. Guitar Hack says, hey, Pete, can you recommend P90s to replace my noisy Gibson P90s? More than doing that, I would recommend looking at the Illich. Do you guys know about Illich? The Sir used to use his noiseless system. I would look at doing that before I went to a noiseless, like P100 style stacked P90. They never sound quite the same. ILLICH, noiseless. Put that in Google and then do a little research and see if you can get one of his back plates for your guitar or something to help the noise of a P90 style guitar. My buddy Brian Ray plays with Paul McCartney. He's using them. We know that, the Illich system for his P90 guitars. And, Primo Vision says that song Rosemary was absolutely beautiful. Thank you. That's on my album. And I just decided I needed a song to play for the acoustic preamp video this week for the orange preamp. And I thought, why not I'll pull up the session and then I'll just cut the main three guitar parts from that song again, but I'll try using the orange preamp. And it went really smoothly, and it wasn't a hard video to make. It was because that thing just sounds great, that orange preamp. It should sound great because you're right. It's not cheap. It's $900. It's $899, but it worked great. You know, I mean, I used on the record, I used my BAE Neve style pre and a $1,200 mic. And so it was comparable. I think the tones that I got were pretty good. Greetings from Russia, says Oleg. How do you get that great sound on the Into Focus track? Best guitar sound in the world. Into Focus. Well, it's a lot of sounds, so I wonder which tone you like. Let me think. Number one, it's a guitar tuned to C sharp, so the whole guitar is tuned way down low. Or is it drop C sharp? Ugh. God, I can't remember. Actually, if the whole guitar is tuned to C sharp or it's drop C sharp, I actually don't remember. It's so funny, so silly. But anyway, I'd have to learn my own riff again. I can go back and go over it. But anyway, treble booster is the other thing that I did. So into like a Marshall, like my SL68 is I think what I used. So low tuned, kind of gnarly. Might have been this guitar, or it might have been my Sir Telly. I can't quite remember. But anyway, heavy strings and tuned to C sharp for a thing. Treble booster running into a Marshall is the main thing for that gnarly kind of, and then there was a couple things where I did kind of a stuck wah. Those parts are like mid boost, real. I think I turned a wah on and and cut those separately, almost Jimmy Page style, where I've got a real filtered kind of guitar sound, like poking through, you know. Solos are the Kemper, actually, because I did them at home, at my old home, I remember, and I had the Kemper with PT100 profile, and my white Sura Classic was the guitar I played on the solos for that. So there's a number of different things. Okay. Oh, chat jumped all the way to the end. I always hate that. Let's see. Find out sort of where I was here. I'm just gonna have to start somewhere from the middle, guys. Sorry, I'm not sure where I was. Sorry, guys. Hey, Pete, what would your advice be for an inspiring touring session musician? Luke says. So I guess you're saying like you're wanting to become a touring session musician. There's so much advice. I'm actually going to do some videos, and I was thinking I might even, if I have time, I might just allot 45 minutes today to start making one. But I kind of want to do, I need a good title, but I want to do a playlist on my YouTube channel about like basically like how to be successful as a musician, like how to succeed as a musician. You want a career in music? This is what I know anyway. And I can't offer advice. To me, success as a musician is like means a number of different things. I'm not talking about making $1 million necessarily or having a hit song or being, I'm talking about having like a 25-year plus career without a day job. Like, how do you do that? Could be teaching, could be touring, could be doing session work, could be, but just the things that I've learned in order to do that. And it's a lot about, you know, attitude and perseverance and sort of following through, going the extra mile, that kind of stuff. Some of it has to do with music and practice and things like that and becoming proficient on the instrument, but other things would have to do with just your overall attitude, which I'm becoming I'm more and more in tune with that lately. Like the fact that not everybody does think like with a very positive attitude and with a really go to the wall kind of attitude. And sometimes that's what you have to do because there's going to be these lean times where you know, I clearly remember, like I've always said, like rolling quarters or dimes for rent, you know, and living 1 week on $13 for the entire week, that kind of thing. You have to be prepared to do that stuff and almost be willing and pleased to do it, knowing that, you know, and it's not going to be easy, and that the results can be that at the end of the day, working really hard and maintaining a positive attitude and just working hard and being the kind of person that other people want to be in the room with is going to be the thing that carries you through sticking around long enough to getting some opportunities. So anyway, I want to start a YouTube playlist about that. And I'm going to do that, Luke. I'm going to make a series of videos, you know, and as I come up with topics, I'll just, you know, write them down maybe, and then like do a video on it. But basically, you know, how to audition, you know, how to not get fired, how to, you know, be the kind of person that, you know, like have a successful session, you know, be the, you know, when you're going to play with other people in the studio, maybe you haven't met before or something, how to succeed on a day like that, what to bring, I don't know, but also just attitude stuff. So that's coming. Ben Coombe says, don't forget to thumbs up. I appreciate that, Ben. Yeah, if you guys like this video, hit the thumbs up, please. It does help. Please hit the thumbs up, and please share or, you know, like, and do all that good stuff. I really do appreciate it. Let's see. Mr. Snifert 1968 says, late to the party here. What's up, Pete? Hello, sir. Good to see you. Okay. Moving down. Pete, any love for active pickups? That was a question I already had. Did I move too far back in the chat? I want to go to NAMM, says Renaissance Man. Is somebody going to get me a pass? Anybody out there want to get him a pass? Lonnie says, I think he's up in the top chat. Thank you, Lonnie. He sent me Canadian $10, which means I'm going to go to Tim Hortons the next time I'm there and get a donut. No, I can't do that. A coffee. I think how to succeed as a musician, content would be amazing. You bet. Sold pop bottles to buy Ichiban noodles in the 80s. Yeah, that's the thing, right? I mean, sometimes you got to do that stuff, and you're like, you look back and you go, "Holy shit, I remember that. That was tough." But at the time, I was happy because I was young and excited about playing music. Telly neck user is Richie Kotzen, says Old Guy's Guitar Vlog. Yeah, Richie, he gets a great tones out of a Telly for sure. Okay. Preston says he likes how versatile Strats can be. That's true. You can do just about anything on one with the right pickup combination. Who's up in the top chat? Somebody. Tim Quarter says, Pete, thanks so much for hanging out with us each week. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate it. Thanks for doing the top chat. About an hour and 34. I'm going to go for at least another 10 or 15 minutes here, guys. And let's see. He hits those older Van Halen songs like he's playing an acoustic, says Chuck. Yeah, that's how you got to do it. Lay into it. Are there pedals that do the Voodoo Lab Sparkle Drive thing? That's from David. So the Sparkle Drive is an interesting pedal because it has a clean blend. It's an overdrive, but it allows you to blend in the clean signal. It's kind of a unique pedal in that way. I don't know too many others out there that do it. It is a great sounding pedal. Normally, I'm not really crazy about the layer of clean over dirt that I hear out of tube screamers, like where you can kind of hear the dry sound and this layer of overdrive mixed together. But there's something about the Sparkle Drive that works. And maybe it's just that when you mix in the clean sound, you got the output up on the pedal, it's hitting the front end of the amp and kind of clean boosting at the same time as adding some drive. I don't know, but I do like the Sparkle Drive. If nobody's ever tried one, I thought it was a great sounding pedal. It's been out forever. Ever played in Amsterdam, Netherlands, says Kitchen Marshall. Yeah, many times. Presidio, that's the club, right? In Amsterdam. I've played there so many times. Well, not like a gazillion, but probably like, I don't know, I want to say 5, 6, 7 times or something. I've played that club. And then another one, I remember clearly, a Chris Cornell gig at a big club there. And I've played festivals and stuff in Holland as well, outside of Amsterdam. And David says, by the way, I love both your albums. Thank you, sir. Okay, moving down. Let's see. Guitar Hack, gotta go. Guitar Hack says gotta go. He's probably long gone, but he says have a great afternoon. See you, man. By coil balance, do you mean different DC resistance? How does it affect tone? That's George. So by coil balance, when we're talking about a humbucker that's got 2 coils in it, we're talking about turns of wire on each coil. And the unbalanced coils means there's more turns of wire simply on one coil than the other. So one's coil is a little stronger than the other one. And it affects tone in a way that I find it opens up the pickup a little bit and give you a bit of a notch and almost can have a slightly more single coil-like quality. If you do it too much, I find it destroys the tone of the pickup. So like, for instance, I think with the Thornbuckers, it's not more than 50 turns of wire unbalanced. We're talking about thousands of turns of wire on the pickup. So one is slightly hotter than the other one, slightly more wire. And yeah, it just does a neat kind of character. I don't know how else to describe it, but when you unbalance the coils, it just tends to open up the quality of the pickup a little bit, and it kind of it's like, oh, it got slightly more single coilish almost. Ian Thornley recently said he has something new coming out with Sir. Do you know anything about that? I do, but I don't want to bring it up. I don't think it's a NAMM thing, but it's cool though, for sure. And have you ever tried a Roland Blues Cube Artist? I haven't, but I've played Roland Blues Cubes over the years. I've tried some different ones, like the ones that were out in the 90s were great, I thought. Those are cool amps. So from what I've heard, I've watched videos and stuff and seen they seem really good. Roland and Boss are knocking it out of the park lately, doing good stuff. Brooks says he has a Michael Landau Hot Rod DeVille. That's probably a real cool amp. I've heard it at Mike's gigs. Excuse me, burping. Great for pedals, nice for mid-size rig gigs. Yeah, I mean, if Mike puts his stamp on it, it's got to be good, right? No master, no dirt channel. Perfect. Yeah, great clean amp. Yeah, I looked at it at NAMM. I didn't remember that it didn't have a drive channel, but that makes sense because Mike just turns it up and uses it with pedals, right? Braxall asked me if I have a barbecue at the studio so I can cook steaks if I've got a guest. No, unfortunately. Unfortunately, I don't. What about the groove to the intro of Panama? Any tips on practicing that? I haven't played that forever. I don't even remember how it goes, to tell you the truth. I don't even remember it. I can't remember. That's the harmony, but I can't remember what position he plays it in. I'd have to go back and relearn it. I don't think I've ever done that song like at a cover gig or something like that, so I never really went through and learned it. But let's see. What's your favorite guitar color? Too hard to pick, man. Gold tops, flame tops. I like variety. Black. Okay. Good God, that sounds awesome, says Preston. Maybe that was when I was plugging in the SL68 with the telly on the middle pickups. I hope you liked it. My favorite guitar color is red, particularly wine red. This is kind of wine red, isn't it? Come on now. Looks like a nice Pinot Noir. Steve says Steve Herb says he got a Trainer YGM4 back from service. Sounds great with just a bit of reverb. It's a good pedal, or good amp, excuse me. I like those old Trainers. Why is Pete wearing headphones while playing? Well, when I'm using the Samson mic with the 1/4 inch in when you're hearing me play the amps, I'm literally running the output of the reactive load into the microphone, and that's the only way that I'm hearing the sound. I don't have it up in my monitors right now. Normally I use a UA interface in here, but I tried last week to get that going with the live stream so that I could have the output of my switcher going into the UA and then coming out through YouTube for you guys, but it didn't work, and I don't know how to do it exactly. This Samson works perfectly, though, just doing it like this. So it's a simple, easy way to get it going. I know there's a way to do it with the UA. I just don't know how to exactly route the audio coming out of it into the live stream. Okay. Favorite single coils for Strat. Trying out the Sur ML in the neck, V60LP in the middle, and V60LP in the bridge. Pretty happy so far. Yeah, I mean, I played my old white classic last night with the V60LPs in the middle and the neck, and it sounded just killer. Kind of missed that tone. Actually, I was plugged it in and oh, this guitar sounds great. V60s have long been my sort of go-to for a new pickup. Okay. Moving down. Take a few more questions, then I'm going to go, you guys. And I got a bunch of work to do because NAMM's looming and pedal demos plus new stuff that I got coming and stuff. I need to get it all done. Not seeing another question. Lots of you guys talking amongst yourselves, which I love. Don't stop doing that. But I just got to find a question here. For a second, I thought you were going to play General Hospital by Alcatraz. September Fire. Well, I'm seeing there's one. George says, hey, Pete, any recommendations for a large diaphragm condenser that could be good for high gain guitar cabs as well as a good room mic for my drums? You know what I would recommend is right off the top of my head is an AT 4050, where they've got a maybe not that mic anymore, but that's a classic one that like maybe it's a 4050. I don't know, but look at the 4050 and the 4060, those AT mics that are in that. 4050 was a great mic that a lot of live sound companies ended up getting some of. And anytime that I had one of those on my guitar rig live, it always sounded amazing, really great. And it's just a killer all around, FET large diaphragm condenser mic that's not too expensive. I think they're maybe $700 or something like that. Not prohibitively. They're not like tube mic expensive, but that is a great, great, great mic, particularly on guitar cabs, I think. Let's see. Moving down. Find something here. Oscillation Overdrive says, Pete at NAMM, can you check out the Strymon Volante multi-head Echo? Looks promising. Yes, I will. I want to see that thing. I wanted to show you guys, actually. Let me give this pedal some love. This thing I'm doing a demo of, I heard this at the Guitar Summit in Germany, and I was just like, whoa, and I sat down. There's a little video of me playing through it on YouTube, actually, because I was so knocked out by it. But this is a multi-head Echo, a la Echo Rec, kind of, from Crazy Tube Circuits. And I challenge you to find a Crazy Tube Circuits pedal that doesn't sound great. This pedal sounds awesome. And it's, you know, stereo, kind of that analog. I don't know if it's actually analog, but man, does this pedal sound good. It sounds so good. So video of this coming soon. I plugged it in and wrote a riff in like 10 seconds with this thing. I was just like, oh, yeah, it sounds great. It's just the tails are so lovely. Like, you know, tails out and just has this beautiful filtered modulation thing going on. So it's called the Echotopia, and I'll have a video for this coming within the next week. Tap tempo, multi-head, wonderful sounding delay from Crazy Tube Circuits. Not the easiest pedals to get, maybe in the States, but you can get them. They're around. You can always order one, and you'll hear a video soon. It gets my stamp of approval for sure. Okay, going to the end of the chat. And Jeff says, curious travel time from home to studio. He's in the top chat. Thank you, Jeff. Adam, okay, I'm going to take two things from the top chat here. Adam's up in the top chat. Thanks, man. He says, thanks for your time. Feel free to spill some more beans on the new amp. Maybe tube type. It's not EL84s. It's a tube that to me sounds, I'll just say this, it works great clean to dirty. That's the thing that I love about it. All the way across the board. It's got to keep some surprise. It's only like a week and a half away or 2 weeks away or whatever. But it sounds so good clean. And then dirty, I love that it gets kind of this wonderful character too. So it's really great. EL84s do one thing to me, and I don't really like them in small amps, to be honest. Okay, some other top chat folks here. Jeff says, curious travel time from home to the studio. It just depends on whether there's traffic. It's 15 minutes, maybe 20, maybe 25, depending on traffic. It's not bad. Tom is up in the top chat. Thank you, sir. He says, how to get Ain't Talking About Love delay with timeline. Use the tape echo and just use the D-tape or whatever it's called. 300 milliseconds. Set the mix on about, just 9 o'clock. 1 repeat, maybe 2. And you're there. Best tone bender 2 style pedal for good times, bad times tone. So far, preferring Throwback's stone bender. That's great. Throwback stone bender is a great option. I did a demo of that like many years ago. It's a terrific one. That's Rich. He's in the top chat. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Thanks for doing the top chat thing, you guys. Another one I can think of is maybe the 65 has one. I believe they have a tone bender style. But the Throwback sounded great to me when I did a video with it. Great option. Let's see. EL84 tubes burn out fast as super gigawatt. Yeah, and it's just a tone, They have a certain they're great for that mid Vox circuit. It's just a special, like you need them in a Vox circuit, and that's that sound. I love that sound. But for anything else, like unless it's Marshall 18 watt, I loved the little Marshall 20 watt 2061X. That head sounds great with just the 4 knobber, it sounds killer. So that's great. 18 watt Marshall, great. Vox, great. Trying to do a high gain amp with the EL84s, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I got to play more of them, but it's never been my favorite, and I know a lot of other people feel that way too. So it was just never my my preferred thing. But anyway, let's see. Surfby says social media. You guys are talking amongst yourselves about something, but he was saying social media seems to be about we all connect with each other today. I think it's good and bad. Again, get out and play with people live. It will make you a better player. Not to mention it'll make you a happier person, right? let's keep in mind that, like, you know, it's too much spending time in these rooms alone. Like, I love this place, you know, but I'm very well aware. I'm actually doing a cover gig pretty soon. I'll give you guys more details on it soon. For anybody in LA, you got to come out and hang out. It's gonna be fun. But I'm doing a cover band with, which I'm so looking forward to. It's Lauren Gold from The Who on keys, and my buddy Corey that I did Chris Cornell's gig with on bass, and Matt Starr on drums, who plays with Ace Frehley and Mr. Big as well. And he's awesome. He's a great drummer, great singer. He sings lead. So we're gonna do a cover gig pretty soon here coming up, and just play some classic rock and stuff. It's gonna be fun. But you know, Mick Fleetwood makes the comment in the I think it's in the Sound City movie, you know, Dave Grohl movie, where he says, you know, yeah, you can do it all by yourself, you know, like program everything, make music all by yourself and stuff. But he says, I guarantee you'll be a happier person if you get in another room with other people, and the chemistry thing and all that. And that is such a huge point. And that's coming from a guy that was in Fleetwood Mac with all that drama. He still says get in the room with other people, even though they may be tearing each other's hair out, you know. But it's like, there's something to that, you know. We got to remember, you know, I've been trying to tell this to a lot of musicians, younger musicians and stuff. Like, it's not all about Instagram and YouTube and whatever is great for its thing, but don't think that that's the only thing. That's not what making music is, you know, or pedal demos or whatever. You got to get in the room, play with other people, you know, jam. That's why we all did this, you know, in the first place, I think. So, like Rick Beato said in the recent video we did together, I said, what's missing with the guitar scene or whatever with Instagram? And he goes, songs. And people, you know, they're being a vocalist foil there, somebody that, you know, Jimmy Page and Robert Plant, or Eddie Van Halen and David Lee Roth, you know, like there's always the singer and writing songs and chemistry and all that stuff. So we got to get out and play with other people for sure. 300 milliseconds says do. Yeah, that's for the Ain't Talking About Love. Yeah, 300 milliseconds. That'll make it. Don't no. You guys know what I'm talking about? Can we get a Tim and Pete with Lukather? God, I would love to do that. And it's not that we've stopped actively doing the Tim and Pete show. We just haven't made one. So it's not like a thing where I totally want to do it. Tim's actually got to come by. You're reminding me to help me with a demo thing this week. So it's going to be a quasi Tim and Pete show no matter what, coming up for a pedal demo that we're doing together. But I'd love to do it with Lukather, man. That'd be fucking great. Like, we got to get him on a... that guy's a riot, man. He's so nice and cool, and just the stories. Oh my God, can you imagine the stories? Will probably be 3 hours long. It'll be great. I really want to read his book. So I'm going to finish up pretty quick here, guys. Just a couple more questions. And then I'll move on to getting some work done here today. Mike says, have I talked to Tor, formerly of TC? I haven't for a little while, but I know he's working for UA now, and he's based in Europe and going to be doing that. Maybe he'll be at NAMM. I hope so. Such a great guy. I would love to do some stuff with him in UA, because he's, you know, we made those videos together for TC. We had good chemistry together. I like working with him. He's a smart guy. Really great guy. Like, he's such a nice guy and really knowledgeable. So hopefully that happens. Carlos says, come to Panama, let's hang. I want to meet you. Man, I had fun in Panama. I was there many years ago, played a gig down there. And it was cool. I'd love to come again. Love to hang with you in Panama. All right. What else? Just getting towards the end here. Great things come out of drama. Friction, not always a bad thing. Agreed. Yeah. And it gets easier as they get older to like other people's quirks and things. You know, like creatively, they've got a different idea than you. Now, I'm so much better now than I was like 15 years ago, even, or 10 years ago, even. They're just listening to their idea and going, I don't feel that way, but I'm going to entertain that for a good long period of time now until I really don't feel that way. You know, like that, like letting that. It's like as you get older, your ego falls away, and you're like, maybe I don't know anything anymore. And, or, you know, maybe I know a little bit, but like that person might know more than me, and maybe I should just listen. And, you know, that gets easier the older I get. It's like, it's pretty cool. Great thing about getting older. I heard a great quote about getting older. David Bowie says, aging is this magical thing that where you've finally become the person you were always supposed to be. That's pretty cool. Like a struggle to get to some point where you're finally there, and then maybe you die. But anyway, that's life. Steel or nickel strings for active pickups? Geez, I don't know. I mean, active pickups are definitely going to be bright anyway because you're buffered right out of the guitar. So maybe nickel steel. I'm not really a steel string guy. I'm a, nickel steel, guy, the classic slinky thing or whatever. Did you watch the Queen movie? It has, it was like the band never had an argument. Yeah, it was like that. The Queen movie, I have mixed feelings about, because for me, the best music movie of the year was the Gaga movie, man. That was awesome. And my buddy Corey's in that, the guy that's going to play bass in the cover band. he's the bass player in the band. They did all the music, Promise to the Real, for the Gaga movie. But anyway, it's not because of that I like the movie. I thought it was a great movie. Terrific. It felt really real. The Queen movie, there's so many historical, inaccuracies, and yet the band was part of the thing. So that's what I don't understand. That bothered me about it. I'll just give you a big example. Freddie didn't know he was ill when they did Live Aid. I believe he discovered he was, maybe he wasn't feeling well or something, but I believe it was 87. I think somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I hope I'm not wrong, but I think it was 87 when he discovered that he had HIV and was progressing to full-blown AIDS and all that stuff. Live Aid, they made it seem like is he going to be able to pull it off in the movie? Like, can he, is he going to, and then he pulls out all the stops and does this amazing performance. That was total fabrication because they were on the road for like a year then when they did Live Aid for like, I don't know what the record was, the News of the World or some record was, it was Radio Gaga. Maybe it was Radio Gaga. I can't remember. But anyway, I know that they were on the road then, already touring. So they were rehearsed, and like it was, and in the movie they made it seem like they got back together, and it was this, oh guys, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have ever, it was just like the historical. John Suhr made the point to me that they were playing some song in the club days when they first met Freddie or whatever, and he goes, that song wasn't even, it was like 3 records after that song came out, So there was these things that was just like so, I don't know, kind of. When you watch it with that in mind, it's like, okay, this is a very, very loose sort of dramatization of like, a loosely interpreted, almost fictional bunch of events around a real thing that happened. So artistic reasons is on the road. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, let's see. So Laugh Out Loud, they rewrote their own stories as Javion Vision. I hope I'm saying that right. Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like, let's make it more dramatic. I don't know. Kind of. Okay. Sorry, guys. I got to run. Gary says, I was in London for the day Freddie died. It was sad, but it was nice to be able to light a candle in Hyde Park. Yeah, I'm sure that was probably pretty cool. Melancholy, but yet the right place to be right on that day. Du says, yeah, we feel the same, but it was fun to watch. It was fun to watch. I mean, it's, great to, if anything, it's great to hear all those songs and, probably turn on a whole generation of, maybe new kids that weren't big Queen fans into Queen fans. And that's it. George says, this is great. We got some good opinions here. George says, but Queen was, artistic sense, a band that worked in the extreme medium, overdubs, etc. That's a great way to look at it, actually. That's a very positive way to look at it. And I'll close on that note because I was being kind of negative about it, but that's it. Why not? Yeah, sure. Take some license with it and make the movie even more, grandiose than real life. Okay, guys. Well, have a great week. And we'll see you next week. Next week will be the last one before the NAMM show. And then I can show you guys what I got for you after that. This new thing, which would be really cool. It's right there. It's right there. Okay, everybody. Take care. Have a great week. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it, as always. And come join me again next week for some more coffee. All right. See ya.